Hello everyone, this is GrindCore for Deuces with the second episode of the Thin Red Grind. In this video I'll be playing 4 tables of NL50 and I'll be playing a hyper loose aggressive style. If you do that, some people are bound to adjust to you, but if you can anticipate those adjustments, then you can actually get a huge edge on them from that, and you'll see that happening later on in the video. Right. I hope you enjoy. I've just started this session, no real reads on any of the players yet, only played for like 1 minute or 2 minutes. Here I flop a set and I get c-bet into. There are quite some draws possible, so I'm just gonna raise him. You know, it's a rainbow board, but king, queen, stuff like that. If I had more reads about this aggressiveness, I could definitely slow play. Like if he double barrels a lot. Say he has ace queen. A lot of people will just double barrel that because they have the gut shot. But at these stakes people tend to play more on the passive side. So when I'm realist on the player, I'll be less inclined to rely on them to put the money in. I might rather do it myself. If this was mid stakes, I'd usually call there on the flop. On the bottom right table, I played a hand. It's actually my first hand at the table, I think. Where there was a limper and then the fish min raised from the... No wait, there was there was a min raiser and then the fish called, and I called for 1 big blind more with any 2 cards. And then the fish donked. This fish, the small blind caller. He donked and I have a pair, so I call. And then he bet really weak on the turn and he folded to the raise. But that's when I started the recording, so I haven't had time yet to take a note, but I will do that now. Check calling ace king here. It beats all his air, just like pocket fives or so would. I'm kind of playing it like pocket fives, only ace king generally has better equity. Yeah, because when you are behind you have 6 outs instead of 2, and also he might continue bluffing at the cards that actually improve me. Yeah, I was talking about that, and I should just have c-bet the board against this fish here, but I didn't. Now he bets quite large. So that's like the queen or nothing. It's probably fine to fold there with no reads. If he was a fish, I might be more inclined to call because they can just smash the pot button. But I have no reason yet to believe that he's a fish. I'll note that he did that though, so now in the future if I ever see him get in a similar spot and use a different size and it goes to showdown, then that will also tell me something about what happened there. I'm gonna flat here because I'm in position to the fish and have a post-flop read on him. That allows me to exploit him whenever he has a weak hand, and he will likely let me know whenever he's weak. So, like here, he bets $1, he's probably just falling to a raise. Though on this particular board, fish are actually extremely distrustful. Should probably have called. I still think he's full of it, and not as in filled up, but as in that other meaning of it. I think I can actually stack him if I try to do some sort of spaz. But whenever it's very unlikely that anyone has hit the board, like on 666, fish tend to spaz. Like any paired board in general, they like check min raise bluff or something. There just tends to be a lot of spazzing. So do I jam for value or go small for the spaz in deuce? I think I'm just gonna jam for value because he might call with ace high. Let's see what it was. Pocket fives. And the fish is probably tilted now because I sucked out on him on the turn. And that's always good. This is kind of a bad board for c-betting, but also have very little showdown value. I'll just check, see if I can get additional reads on him. If I bet and he folds, I don't get any sort of information on him. But yeah, the flop just hits so much pre-flop that I kind of have to barrel quite often to win it. And pocket threes, it has no equity at all. It's one of the worst barreling hands. So I think just giving up there, hoping to get a showdown for free is the best. I don't have a hyper aggressive image on this table, so no point in 3-betting ace king against under the gun opens. And even if I was playing like 50-40 and 3-betting all over the place, I doubt people will really adjust to it and they'll still be just keep playing too tight. Alright, this guy he does seem to be quite aggro over the couple of hands that we played. Ace queen is similar to that ace king check call I made before. It beats his air. And it has good equity, better than a hand like pocket eights. With something like pocket eights or pocket threes on this board, I definitely see that. But ace queen, even though pocket threes is a better hand than ace queen I actually check for pot control. Okay, I think he'll probably show up with some sort of pocket pair that I could have folded out with the c-bet though, because he did call from the small blind, and that is very often either a pair or oh wow, so he's actually really loose. Pretty standard here with the ace king, I think. I could try to double barrel on the turn, but there aren't that many hands that I fold out. Not many hands that that are beating me that I fold out, and also he might check fold like king queen. While if the river's a king, I'll win some extra money. So yeah, I think checking back is better because I have some implied odds too. Don't think I fold out anything if I raise here. Just too much on the board, and this guy's also tilted. He could do something silly. I can flat with the queen 9, but my image is still very clean, so I like to make use of that image by you know, getting out of line a bit with high aggression. Though I'll probably be, be playing hyper aggressive the entire video. I'm gonna give this guy purple because he's absolutely horrendous. This is probably the weakest offsuit ace that I call here. Ace 9, I 3-bet. This is a really loose open, but some things going for this open is that there's a tight regular on the button, so he's probably not going to be playing back at me as he should. And it seems to be a fish in the big blind, and this guy's also fish, and king 9 is a big card hand. It flops big pairs, and big pairs play well against fish. So if I want to open up my my range for opening from middle position, then I want to be doing that by adding big cards to my range, not straight flush cards. Normally I'd open king jack, and then in this table situation I'd open king 10 as well, but because I'm in the video trying to get in some spots, I'll open king 9 too. I don't think this is strong enough to flat reckless against an early position open. I can ace queen is definitely strong enough for flatting, so this is the strongest hand that I can't call with, so it's an auto 3-bet. And here do I go for the third barrel. I don't think with the queen pairing and all the rolls missing that he's folding any bluff catcher he has. And I was gonna say, I don't think he has many nut flush draws in his range, only like ace 10 suited maybe. And there's a good chance that he raises them on the flop as well. If this fish was in, I would have overcalled here. Probably just gonna triple barrel here. The speed at which he called, and with all the draws out there, I think I can discount sets from his range, and then it's more likely that he has a one pair hand when he calls. And this is pretty bad board for him to call 3 streets with a one pair that's not a king. And I open jack 9 there to You know, even if I wasn't trying to get into spots, I would still have opened the Jack 9 because there was dead money from this guy posting his dead blinds. And people don't adjust well for that at all. They just still play the same game, so stealing goes up in EV. This is a very bad board for a typical tight aggressive small blind calling range. Because they tend to call with suited broadways and pocket pairs, and there are no broadways on the flop, and you know, so unless he has a set, this is kind of a bad board for him. And a check call, check min raise. It's a shame that the board paired, because that would give him a boat if he has a set. Then again, people usually slow play boats all the way, so I think I can discount it a little bit. I think it's more likely that he has some. Yeah, then again, yeah, I was gonna say I think it's more likely that he has some sort of draw, but people don't really take the check call, check min raise line with draws, so. Ugh. Well, clearly he's a fish based off his bet sizes and all. Yeah, I'll just let him have it. This guy has folded to a c-bet, but he is hyper aggro himself, so I'm definitely slow playing this hand. Let him put in the money. I'm not raising because I have a spade myself. I should probably have called that, being a little bit deeper. When he bets this big, he probably has a hand and I can check shove here, but he might also be betting that big to try to fold me out. Ace is kind of unfortunate if he has pocket kings or interesting. Yeah, at pocket tens he wasn't probably wasn't betting many rivers anyway, unless he rivered a set. I can't squeeze because this guy won't fold. Well, I'll just call to get in the spot. Downside is that his stack size is very shallow. This is definitely a negative EV call pre-flop. Yeah, man, there's almost no potential and he's a pretty tight range. I'll just let it go, and I'll post my blinds because I'm in a video. But normally you should never do that. Like if you take a bathroom break or whatever, you know, there's someone at your door and you get back. Don't do that. Like this guy is definitely irregular and he did it before and it's just dumb. Shouldn't do it. He cold calls my 3-bet. That's probably like ace, king, jacks, queens. No need to protect against anything here. They have a 2-outer at best. Alright, so I think if he had ace-king he would have bet out on the turn, so he's almost guaranteed to have you know, queens, jacks. That's interesting that he now bets. Maybe he has kings? No, but kings he would have been getting it in pre-flop. This is actually dangerous. He could have ace-queen or something. Because I don't think he expects me to fold when he bets the turn. Because it looks like I have some sort of showdown value when I check back this board. And there's still this guy in the hand who probably has something like queens or jacks. So yeah, I think he has like ace-jack suited, ace-queen. But then again, it's NL50 and people do random stuff. At small stakes you can definitely fold here. In fact, you can probably fold the turn if this guy is a standard tight aggressive regular. For the small sample he has been somewhat aggro. Calling gives a read, folding doesn't. I'll just look him up once though, just because of pot odds. Alright, and it was a total bluff, so pretty good bluff actually. You know, to a hand reader, because it looks so much like he is value betting. But I think at these stakes it's definitely a minus EV bluff that he was making. You know, so you can't just assume that he does it because it's actually a good bluff. You know, the average person at these stakes won't fold their kings or queens or weak ace there. They just get too stubborn. I'm gonna check raise him here because I have some backdoor stuff, and over the small sample he has been 100% aggressive at all opportunities. Now I'm just gonna value bet. I think if he was gonna bluff at it he would have bet the flop. So now when he bets I'm usually beat. He's just value betting. No, I don't induce bluffs by checking, so I might as well value bet, hope that he calls with his pocket sevens or whatever he's trying to show down. I actually have no idea how long I've been recording. Right, 23 minutes. I'm raising smaller from all positions this session just because my ranges are wider, and also when I raise smaller I think I'm more likely to get callers and get spots in, get in spots in that way. You know, the players in position probably won't adjust to it that much, but the players in the big blind might come along more often for $1.50 than $2, and then I'll at least get to play pots in position with that wide range. Alright, we're deeper now, so I'm just gonna set mine out of position. I think this is also the second time that he 3-bet me, or was that another player? No, there must have been another player. Alright, that was this one. Yep. And I've been really active on this table, 60, 45 stats, 3-betting this guy in particular, I think. I've been 3-betting mostly him, so definitely fast playing pocket jacks there. If there were very aggressive players in the blinds, then flatting might be worthwhile, or if this guy, if ever reads on one of these hyper aggro post flop, then flatting might be worthwhile. But until then, I'm fast playing. This guy is really passive. I'd call here with any suited connector. any pocket pair, anything that does somewhat well against, like ace king, kings plus. King 10 is not one of those hands. However, I'll call just to get in the post flop spot, but this is definitely a fold, even though he made it that small. Last time I checked, I went for the check raise. He probably had some sort of underpair, which is why he didn't have to bet. And then he folded to the turn bet because the board was horrible. But for the same reasons that I was going for the check raise last time, I'm still going for the check raise now. He's just very aggressive in position and will likely stab all his pair, and especially now that we've seen him check back that last hand, he's likely to check back when he has shonen value, and that means that his betting range here is either a king, a king or better, or a bluff, and that range is just way too weak. So I can exploit that by check raising there with rolls with air. And as soon as I get an aggressive image from doing that, I can also start doing it for value. Now if he double barrels here, it becomes a little bit of a leveling spot, because last time he went for that double barrel, I called him down. At higher stakes that would become a really tricky spot, because he might know that last time I called, so he probably expects me to expect him not to bluff here, and you get into this leveling war. But at these stakes people tend to be more straightforward, and I think just because I called him last time, he's simply gonna be more straightforward now. I could donk bet at this board and just triple barrel. I can rep diamonds, but I think I'm gonna check call it. Reason being is that I can donk into him when a diamond hits. And a jack is also a very good card if he has something like king queen. Alright, now it's getting tricky. I'm definitely not beating any hand that he's value betting here. I might chop with ace king. Ace jack, yeah, maybe he bets ace jack. So the question is, how many draws can he have? Well, since he's raising from the cutoff, he probably has a lot of suited connections in his range, so I am gonna call here. If he was raising from earlier position, I would probably have check folded. And now do I... yeah, I'm probably gonna check shove. It allows him to fire another barrel with his busted draws. So let's see, he had a set on a super wet board, and now we can note the bet size that he used. Right after these hands. Where did the hand go? Here. Second time that we've seen this guy pot double barreling, so that's something I can start exploiting by slow playing every single time against him, just because his turn bets will be so large. I I win more money when he bites. And he probably has... Not sure exactly what he has. That he check calls the flop but then bets the river. If he had like jacks, I don't think he... I think if he had an ace he would have bet it on the flop, he wouldn't have checked back. So what hands can he have that are suddenly double barreling now? It's either some retarded slow play or a busted spade draw, so I'm gonna call. Boom. Really hope he gets stacked here and then rebuys. That's a big 4-bet. I'm gonna check raise here instead of check call, because if I check call and then put in money when the flush draw hits, it's too obvious what I have, so I don't get much value by by just calling here. And also I think this is a board where if he had a set or king queen or so, he would probably have raised a c-bet, and this is also a good board for him to c-bet with all his air. So both their ranges are somewhat weak. Now it is possible that he has a nut flush draw or something, or hand like king jack. Made both of them timer fault. Definitely slow playing, just because the fish is on tilt and there's 2 more people in the hand that can put in more money if I slow play. There we go. And this is the guy that likes potting the turns, so definitely calling here. Come on, pot bet. This guy is fishy passive, so when he 3-bets he means business, so I'm not slow playing my hand. Just fast playing, making a large 4-bet. So do I jam now, or... He has been very passive on the river so far for the small sample, so I'm gonna jam for protection, because I think if he has a draw he's the type to give up with it on the river and not shove his stack in. And also, if the draw hits, he might... yeah, actually 10-9 is about the only value hand that I beat. He's probably not playing 10-8. I guess he could be playing 10-8, but he is playing, you know, Queen 10, King 10, Ace 10, pocket 3s. Oops, misclick limp. Wait, did we chop there? Oh, that's unfortunate. Just value betting against ace high here. If I had a read that he was, you know, like if it was this guy, I would check there to let him bluff the turn, but with no reads, I think it's better to just, you know, get the value and protection. It's quite cold in my room. I have a hot air blower with a thermostat, and it was off at the start of the recording, but it turned on at some point. I hope it's not making too much noise. Right, this guy's a wide flatting range from the small blind, so that means he can easily have several tens, but he also have a lot of suited connectors that have draws here, so I'll be double barreling this and then checking back the river. The bet here is quite large, but I think at these stakes people won't pick up on it. At 100 NL or 200 NL I'd be using a standard bet size against players that seem to be regulars. But at micro stakes I feel I can still get away with it. At NL 100 it depends on the regular. If they are weak tied and nitty, straightforward, then I might do the same. Okay, I think when he donks here, it's not a draw, he'd check here or check fold, check raise flop, and yeah, it's probably just a straight that got there. Yeah, I really don't see why I would take this line without having improved on the turn. And any hand that improved on the turn, that's value bettable as pocket king speed there. You know, it's not like he turned an 8 with his ace 8 of spades and is now betting it, or with 8-7 like pair plus straight draw. He wouldn't be doing that. So I think I'll speed there. But then again, people do, you know, silly things at these stakes, so it might have been good. But that just felt really strong when he did it. Super nit c-betting, just gonna let him have it despite having a gut shot. Otherwise I'd have check called or check raised, but he's too nitty. You beat nits by winning all the small pots and out nitting them in the larger pots. I'm c-betting here because the board is paired. If the The second 10 was a deuce. I'd probably check back for pot control. Alright. Because he now has a boat, if he has any pocket pair, like pocket fives, he's probably not folding the turn. And I don't have to protect against draws because I have a boat myself. So I'm checking back. That's about the worst card. I don't beat anything anymore. Yeah, I guess I beat Jack 9, but... That's interesting. Because what can he be betting here other than Queen Jack, Ace Queen? I think if he had quads he bets larger. I think I'm gonna go for a raise here. Wrap a queen. I think it's more likely he has like pocket nines and going for a thin value bet. Or maybe he's turning like, I don't know, I guess he doesn't have to bluff with pocket sixes. But yeah, it feels like a thin value bet with pocket nines or so. Or ace 8. Yeah, I think if he had quads he'd bet larger. And he can't really have a queen. Oh wow. Well, now that I know that he value bets thin, I'm just gonna take the same line. Gives him a chance to bluff with his busted draws. I know he calls wide, so he has hands like 8-9 off in his range that check called with the gut shot. I think he just gets slightly more value that way. If he has a hand like King Jack, yeah, which he ended up having, I still get the same amount of value, 3 streets. Also he might not even pay off if I triple barrel, but he probably will call off the raise if I take this line. Yeah, he probably calls off a triple barrel as well, but there's no real money difference between raising him on the river or triple barreling if he has a hand like King Jack, but there is a difference if he has a draw. I think checking is better then. You know, unless he's a huge station and he will also check call a draw on the turn, then betting is better. Okay, if he had... No, I'll just check it down. I think if he had a king, he'd just keep betting on the turn. So when he checks back, he either improved with the jack, and if he bets, his most likely hand is queen jack, or is just done. And that's interesting. He opened 3-7 offsuit while out of position to this guy. That's horrible. Or was he button? Oh, he was button, then it's fine. Okay. He likes potting the turn, so I'm gonna check call now to let him pot. Might even check raise him. Yeah, I think check raising is actually pretty good for value. Because he's probably betting a 9 here and also a lot of draws. Here this player only fired 1 barrel with a draw here, probably afraid that I would call him down. played before with him, and he's probably seen me make some pretty light calls, so he's afraid to bluff me now. He's a Deuces cracked member, so probably a thinking player and capable of making some adjustments. I think I'm the pre-flop caller here. Or did he limp call? Anyway, I like under betting when check 2 in on monotone boards. For some reason it just works very well. You get check raise less often, you get check calls or check folds more, I feel, and when they do check call you can almost always bet big on the turn because their check calling range is going to be pretty weak as a result of your small bet. So the under bet on the flop followed by the larger turn bet, it just works out very well. Pretty standard hand, cutoff versus button. I will note it though, just so I know that it's not in his calling range. And he probably doesn't have any premiums in his calling range when he calls a 3-bet out of position. You know, most people play 4 by default out of position, but now when he does call, he probably has something like ace queen suited, maybe pocket 9s, pocket 10s. Against this guy, given how light he's defending against me, I'm just gonna stop opening 100% of my small blinds. I mean, he was defending with 10-3 offsuit by flatting, so there's really no point in trying to steal his blind. The only point in it would be to get in a spot post flop where I have an edge on him because of my skill advantage. But 9-3 is just such a weak hand that my skill advantage probably won't make up for the equity disadvantage. And I think since I just stacked him, a lot of people tend to fold a lot to the 3-bet right after you stack them for some reason. Probably because they know that, like maybe they're afraid that you know, or that you're thinking that they might be tilted, and therefore you are not bluffing or something. You know, I don't really like to use the word momentum, but I guess you could call it that in this spot. Just you know, you just won a big pot of him, so you bluff him right after. For some reason it works well. Oh, and I think the video has been going on a little bit too long. Oh, that's alright, I can still manage that. But I will be finishing up the orbits. I was considering checking here to represent showdown value, because he has seen me check calling with showdown value, and then betting the turn when he checks back. But I do have some several cards that I can double barrel. Anything, any ace, any 4, any 6, and any heart I can double barrel. And here on the turn I value slash protection bet against draws and ace high. This is very likely a 4-bet bluff now. Again, it was I don't really know exactly why, but it's just a dynamic thing. Just like they fold after you when you 3-bet them directly after winning a big pot, they usually fold, and then when you do it again, then that 4-bet is usually a bluff. It's just how people work, I guess. Maybe I get to stack the fish before I leave. That'd be nice. This board is all over his super wide flattening range, so he's not really in a fold happy mood, so I'll just take my free cards. Just call with my open ender here. And last time I raised him on the river, it was a value raise. So I'm gonna raise him now, expecting that he's probably gonna fold this time. Unless he has a rivered ace. That's the thing, even if you see people adjusting to your play, like this guy clearly is, at these stakes the adjustments that they make are very predictable. You just you kind of have to get a feel for how people respond to several things. For some reason I've always been good at that, even when I started in poker. And I was total fish, I still had a somewhat good feel for those things. Definitely triple barreling him now. Especially on the ace, this is a great card because he will get very paranoid. You might even feel that he has to make some sort of fancy play now. I think I'm gonna overbet the river, just because that will fuel his paranoia. Should probably have timed down before racing. And there's a little bit of a tell that I had it. Didn't snap call, so he doesn't have the nuts, that's good. Yeah, when a guy is responding to you like that, even though when I suddenly tighten up and start playing super solid against him, if he's using a HUD, he will still see the like 40 VPIP or whatever he has on me. He won't see that my new game has been it will be impossible for him to know that I've suddenly tightened up, so you can get away with exploiting him by actually playing very solid ABC for a while. Alright, so that's the end of the session. Alright, these are my stats for the session. Played a little bit over 40 IP this session. Up almost a buy-in at non-showdown. The rest of the stats you can pause if you want to take a look at them, but I'll go on to reviewing two hands. In this hand, I actually overlooked some of the action. I raise check 9 and get 2 callers, and decide to give up on this board 3-way. Checks through. And now what I think, or what I thought happened here, was that this guy checked, he bet, I call. But in fact, this guy was betting and he called, and then I overcalled. And then I thought he wasn't even in the hand anymore, and this guy was just double barreling, and I put him on spade draw because I thought he would have bet an ace on the flop and a heart draw on the flop, so when he checks back on the flop he probably has air that's done with the hand, and then he picks up, if he has a 9 he's not betting the turn, so if he can suddenly bet the turn it's likely a turn draw, which is why I called the river. And I completely overlooked this guy being in the hand and that guy being the turn aggressor. But even with this guy being in the hand, it's actually still a pretty interesting hand. I would have played it exactly the same. Reason is, he doesn't have an ace ever. He doesn't have an ace ever. However, he could have a 10. I might have check folded the turn here, maybe, but this weak bet size, I guess it could also be a 10. Most people are content with checking down a 10. I don't think he bet a 10. So I think he actually very often has a picked up draw on turn. And then this guy either has the picked up draw or a 10, or a 9. He might fold a 9, maybe not. But there are way more draws possible than 10x combos. So I think both of them will very often have draws in this spot. Maybe the turn was a check fold, but after I've check called, the river is definitely still a check call. Because if I check call here and this guy has a 10, he's always check folding it. Though he probably doesn't have 10 to begin with. Also, this guy never has a 10 because he wouldn't bet it on the river. The only 10 that he can have is king 10 that's made 2 pair on the river. But other than that, he can have every busted draw. So the check call here was still fine. Alright, and this hand, towards the end of the video, started getting in a dynamic with this guy. And I said at the time, I just saw I had kings, so I just shoved it. And immediately afterwards I said this 4-bet is probably a bluff just because of the dynamic we had going. And if you have that sort of a dynamic going, if you're pretty sure that he's bluffing, then this jam here is a huge mistake. I should just be flatting. There's only one overcard to my hand, an ace, and he will, if I shove he's almost always folding, but if I call he's almost always c-betting the flop, or making some spazzy tech shove or whatever. Slow playing in this spot is only bad if he has a tight range for doing this, because if he has ace king and he it's very unlikely that flop comes king high, so the only flop that he hits are ace high, and those are horrible flops for you, and the flops that he misses, he missed and he's not going to stack off anymore, so you lose a ton of value against ace king by flatting here. Against queens and aces there's almost no difference, and against jacks, if there is an ace, a king or a queen on the flop, I'm not stacking jacks anymore. Well, pre-flop I definitely am. So if you think he's doing it tight, then the slow playing is a huge mistake. But I just anticipated that he was 4-bet bluffing me in this spot, and then all I do is fold him out. While by calling, like if I call, the pot will be like $25 roughly. And if he c-bets $12, well, that's an additional $12. If he overbet jams, then I stack him. If he check shoves, then I stack him. So the odds of him having a bluff here, and that's multiplied with the amount of money that I make post flop if he's bluffing. If you weigh that against the odds that he has a premium and the amount of value that I lose by flatting, then this comes out in favor of slow playing here. So I should have called this. I just blindly shoved because I saw 2 kings and had no timings everywhere. But this was a slow play. So this was GrindCore for Deuces Correct, and I'll see you next week.